All right, good morning, everyone. And today we have Luke Roberge and
Yes.
Emmanuel Feliciano, who are going to present about Konnichiwa and Aloha and Asynchronous Virtual Exchange Program. My name is Emily and I'm your host for today. So take it away, Emmanuel and Luke.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our short presentation. This is entitled Konnichiwa and Aloha. You'll find out why in just a little bit. Of course, it has something to do with the location of our learners. But speaking of location, just to start off our short presentation, I'd like to quiz you a little bit. This is a hint as to where we are from. Do you know where this is? Does anybody know where this is? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Ontario? Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Just do you know where this is?
Amsterdam?
It looks like it, yes, but actually, this is a hint to our location. We are not in Amsterdam, though it looks like Amsterdam. This is actually in Sasebo, Nagasaki.
Oh,
This is a theme park called House and Bosch. This is one of the biggest theme parks in Japan, even bigger than Disneyland, and that is actually in Nagasaki. So if ever it's already possible, please visit the Sasebo in Nagasaki and visit House and Bosch. And that is where we are from. We are from Sasebo, Nagasaki, and I am an English an ELT here in Sasebo, Nagasaki, and also I've been teaching for 17 years. And 12 of which were spent in the Philippines as an English teacher in elementary and high school. And also, I was a theater art instructor in university in the Philippines. And so now I'm here in Japan working as an ELT or an English language teacher. So now let's start with our topic. There has been a prevalence of digital learning. The digital classroom is very much prevalent right now, not only because of the development of technology, but also because of the pandemic, of course. And there has been a push for the use of synchronous learning, wherein the students and the teachers are online at the same time. However, there's also a movement towards asynchronous learning nowadays that supports self-paced learning. That is one of the advantages of asynchronous learning. Aside from that, of course, it is very flexible. The students have time to create learning on their own, and of course, there's less pressure. Given now that there are a lot of things going on, so the students need less pressure on learning, and of course, there is room to refine by themselves. Very unlike the face-to-face classroom setup. However, there are also some disadvantages with asynchronous learning, including minimal exchanges. They say, well, asynchronous learning does not allow our students to have more time to interact with each other, and so it becomes less cooperative, and that leads to reduced companionship, which is very prevalent in face-to-face classroom setting, and that also leads to reduced emotional support. However, there are still a lot of benefits to asynchronous learning. That is why in our school, together with Mr. Luke, we tried a virtual exchange program, an international virtual exchange program with a school in Hawaii called Ho'okele Elementary School. So this is a virtual exchange program between our students, and our goal for today is to tell you about it, to tell you the process, in the hopes of maybe giving you an idea how some things, how we do it and how it can be done, or maybe to start off a discussion on the other things that can be brought in to the program or the activity, of course. Of course, our overarching goal is to develop students' English skills through digital communication. This is very interesting because the presentation before this, Nicholas's presentation, was talking about developing students' digital skills through English. But this time, we're trying to develop students' English skills through digital communication. And I think that is our overarching goal. But this project is not actually my brainchild. Okay, this was organized. This is started by our deputy principal and English program coordinator, Mr. Luke Roberge, and of course, um, Miss Terry O'Flynn, an English teacher from Ho'okele Elementary School. So now I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Luke to talk about the goals, the objectives and whatnots of the program. Mr. Luke.
All right, thank you very much, Emmanuel. That was a great introduction. As many other schools, have been having many challenges thanks to the corona pandemic. But aside from that, one of our goals, as Emmanuel said, is we really want to improve our students' English education. And one of the ways that we really want to do that is by giving our students more opportunities to interact with people from different places, of course. During the pandemic, I really actually pushed a lot of other places to look outwards because maybe students were having fewer opportunities at home. So Miss O'Flynn contacted us, and she was teaching in Hawaii, and she was going through a really difficult time with her students because her students were at home. They were having all distance learning, and she was having a hard time connecting the students. A lot of things that Emmanuel was talking about in the beginning about loss of companionship and interaction. So we wanted to make an exchange program, but for anyone who's done an exchange program before, like a pen pal or something like that, it's sometimes there are some real challenges to doing that type of project. One being time difference, and managing that type of. So we really wanted to do live whenever possible, but that isn't always practical or possible, and there's many challenges with that. So we decided to set up an asynchronous exchange with various parts, hopefully to scaffold the students' relationships and connections to each other to make real authentic opportunities for them to use and improve their English on our side, and maybe for the Hawaiian students to gain a greater understanding of Japanese culture. So that was how the project started, and then I passed it on to Mr. Emmanuel, and he did a wonderful job with it. So I'll let him discuss what he did with his program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luke. Okay, so Mr. Luke will be back later on to answer some of your questions if you have some questions. So now let's move on. Speaking of scaffolding, Mr. Luke talked about scaffolding. That's why we did the program in stages, and we went beyond just the letter writing, the pen pal writing, but that is actually where we started. So the first part of the process is I'd like to call it stage one, getting to know you. We did a written letter exchange with the students of Ho'okele Elementary School in Hawaii. Of course, our communicative goal was to get the students to correspond in English and to ask for and discover new information about people in other cultures. Of course, this is self-paced. We used self-paced learning modules in Output, and we used also a learning management system. So this is how it happened. At first, the students from Ho'okele wrote letters to our students, and then our students replied to those letters. They were more like self-introduction letters. And of course, as soon as the Ho'okele students' letters came in, we analyzed, we helped the students get the meaning, and then we proceeded to letting them write their own letters. And to do that, we used some learning management systems like Microsoft Teams and also Loelo Note. Yes. So again, this is the second time I think that Loelo Note has come up this morning. These are both wonderful ways of doing asynchronous learning, because after a discussion in the classroom, we passed to them a module on the step-by-step process on how to create the letters, and then they were on their own. The next time that we saw their letters was when they passed it, when they submitted it to us for editing. And in the end, they were able to create these beautiful letters that, written letters, not typed, not digital. They were written letters that we scanned and created PDF copies of, and then we sent it to Ho'okele Elementary School. So that was the first stage at the asynchronous learning. So all of the students did their letters at their own time and at their own pace, and then just submitted to us. We collected them, and then we gathered and submitted to each other. Each student from Ho'okele Elementary School had a buddy in our school. So the letters were directed towards them. There was already a close interaction and connection between them from the very beginning. And then we proceeded to the next step, which was the self-introduction video exchange. Now that each student, the buddies, have gotten to know each other a little more, they were now prepared to show their faces and be able to introduce themselves to each other. using video communication. And of course, a huge component of a major component of asynchronous learning was at play here, and that is pre-recorded videos. So we used Flipgrid to record our videos. Of course, Flipgrid is another Microsoft system wherein you can record, exchange, comment on videos, and put them all together under one umbrella topic so that they're all organized. So here, we had a folder on international virtual exchange, and we asked the students to create videos. Of course, it started with the whole Kelly students, where they created their own self-introduction videos, sent it to our students, and then our students watched it. What's good about this is that the communication component is here. Although the videos were pre-recorded, but there was still communication aspect, because the students can comment on the videos real time as soon as they receive it. The students back in Ho'okele can read the comments real time. They can respond to it through comments or through another video. So, and we were so happy, pleasantly surprised that there was a huge interaction in the comment section. There was a long comment thread. Students asking about a particular information that one student already mentioned, therefore fostering more information exchange and bonding. Some of them were able to interact more after just sharing the videos to each other, and that really made us happy. But of course, before we did that, there was also an asynchronous exchange of information regarding how to post, what to post, the posting etiquette, and that was actually done by Mr. Luke. So all of these were done asynchronously and at their own pace. We also had other video contents like holiday greetings, and then of course some how-to videos and school tour project videos, which I'm going to talk about next. So after some self-introduction videos, we proceeded to using English in sharing relevant information. So we're scaffolding here after just some basic getting to know. Now it's time for them to discover more relevant information, not only about the students, but also about their environment. So there's a huge information exchange going on from the end of the students from Ho'okele. They did how-to videos, okay? And these are all learner chosen and managed output at their own time. We only gave them prompts. At this point, they were already more comfortable, less nervous to interact with each other. And so we just gave them prompts, not very direct and very, very specific, strict instructions anymore. So we just gave them a prompt. For Ho'okele students, they were asked to create how-to videos on their chosen topics. And some of the topics that they chose were how to create digital drawing. So this is really nice. And then one student created a very well-organized, well-edited video on gardening, and another one on how to throw a ball, like American football, I think this is. Because our students, Japanese students, are not very familiar with it. So they were really, really interested in watching these videos. So some information they were unfamiliar with, they were able to discover because of this program. And of course, again, the comments and the responses were very, very interesting and lively. And of course, from our end here in Japan, we gave them a virtual tour of our school. We did not give them a script. We just gave them a prompt. They drew places, rooms, and halls in our school, and they were supposed to introduce these, and we collected them into one folder so that the students in Ho'okele can have a sort of a virtual tour of our school. And so some of our students gave them a tour of our bouldering area. Yes, we have a bouldering area. And then, and then of course, our arts and crafts area, for example, our nurse's office, with the special participation of our school nurse. This was not even part of the instruction. So they went their extra mile. Now they were more comfortable going the extra mile and asking for the help of other people to join, and they become creative in doing this. And of course, one student even chose to introduce the principal's office and even had a bit of an interview with the principal. So it was so much fun. They had so much fun doing it at this point already. And of course, we were just very, very happy to watch the results. And of course, we still had a sort of a synchronous component. We had a live virtual meet in the end. Finally, after learning about each other, after learning about their context, their cultures, their situation asynchronously at their own pace, it was time for the students of Ho'okele and our school to meet real time. And so we had a session where they met, asked questions, played games, also virtually through Zoom, and the students had so much fun doing that. And so after that, we evaluated the program and our teacher, and we evaluated and asked for the thoughts of our teachers and our students. So the teachers thought that this program gave them an opportunity, an authentic opportunity to interact with same age peers from a different country. And of course, it was authentic practice for them. There was increased motivation and it was very obvious. And of course, there was interest in discovering other cultures. Now, some of our students are playing, it was very interesting for them to discover, for example, like, oh, the student from Hawaii is actually playing the same video games I am playing, or wants this, likes the same food as I do, even though we are miles apart. And of course, that fostered connection with each other. Of course, some of the teachers thought there were also challenges for the students, like taking videos and writing in English, even if they have less knowledge about English grammar and vocabulary, which is actually very interesting because this is something that they were so nervous about. But I think also Mr. Lu can talk about that in a little bit. They were actually surprised to know that the students from Hawaii make grammar mistakes too. They make English mistakes too. And that made it okay for them. Especially during the letter writing, they were like, oh, they knew this was wrong. And they found out, oh, even some native speakers make mistakes in writing and speaking in English. So it doesn't, so they encourage them to try harder and be more comfortable. And then of course, the teachers thought that it was a challenge for them to keep up with the pace of the students from Hawaii. But of course, aside from the students, it also has benefits. It also had benefits for teachers, just like an opportunity to explore new avenues in teaching English. It provided them environments for planning authentic lessons. We went outside of the book and actually planned authentic lessons. This is very authentic. And then, of course, a chance for some of our teachers to learn ICT. I mean, we've been bombarded in the past years with different learning management systems, and we were able to manage using them. One of our teachers who before said she could not even use a PowerPoint presentation now uses Teams, Loilo, and Flipgrid, hand in hand, and it's amazing. And of course, practice on exchanging plans by email, and most importantly, benchmarking with a different school. We also, the challenges, of course, were time difference, finding time in the curriculum, communication with other teachers because it was virtual and through email, and of course, following timelines and using Flipgrid. Lastly, am I talking too fast? Lastly, we also asked our students about their opinions, and their favorite part includes taking videos, watching videos from the students in Hawaii, and then talking with them, asking questions. And one student said, I had never written an English letter before, so this was a good experience for me. That was really nice, right? And then they had fun seeing the Japanese translations of the videos, because in Flipgrid, you can actually translate the transcription of the video. So the video can be transcribed, and it can also be translated. That transcription can also be translated. They were having fun with the translation, the Japanese translation. And of course, one student said, I liked everything about it. And they thought they benefited in these ways. They learn about cultural differences by interacting with people from other countries. It improved their vocabulary. They made new discoveries, and they learned about Hawaii and its people. So that's that's the process that we underwent in implementing the international virtual exchange with our buddies from Hawaii, Ho'okele Elementary School.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. That was great.
Thank you, everyone. Could you that was a really great presentation. Could everyone quickly just unmute your mics? And if you'd like, turn your cameras on. Let's give Emmanuel and Luca a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. It's always nice to interact
Thank you
and
very
have a
much.
couple people listening at least.
Right.
So there were some really good questions. I think one of the questions was about the waiver process. So of course can I address that just very, very briefly? We, of course, that took a really long time to organize. We're a brand new school, so we didn't have a process for how that would work. So we had to ask all of our parents at our school to sign a waiver form, which we made ourselves. The Ho'okelele school in Hawaii is a public school, and so they have their own waiver system, which covers like a broad range of different types of software. But that was quite a process. We needed to contact all the parents before we could do it. And I think that's important, especially when you're working with young learners. It's a good question.
Thank you. I think there was another question about saying, was it by design that we started with handwritten letters before going digital?
Yes. Can I answer that one? Is that okay?
Of course.
Yeah. So one of the things I think about doing an exchange program like this is that often, especially if they're short and don't have that many times to, interact, they can be really inauthentic and kind of surface level and maybe don't feel so real. It's just like, oh, I'm doing classwork. It's for somebody, it's cool. But so we thought that the handwritten letters would, make it feel a little bit more authentic. And our students have never had that chance to write a handwritten letter before. And one of the wonderful, I thought was one of the wonderful happenings that came from that is that our Japanese students realized that American students' handwriting and spelling was absolutely awful. And that really made them feel better because, a lot of the Japanese students have this image that native speakers are like, just like perfect. And that is the standard. And they didn't realize that their own same age peers are still going through the learning process and still haven't mastered like, even like grammar or, punctuation or, even spelling. So that was actually something that we would like to do again in the future is use handwritten. So that's another good question. We don't have much time. Is there any other questions?
I have a ton of questions, but so you're just on till 11, are you? Is that the time for that?
I think the next group comes on at 11. So
then I'm going to close this session first. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for coming to this presentation today. And if you would like, also please go to the main lobby and check out our sponsors and mingle around with everybody. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording. Is that okay?
Yep, thank you.
So is it possible to meet in a breakout room? Luke or Emmanuel, do you have time? Or?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely do. So you want to do
So we have
breakout
time.
room here in